We are back with another Hoop Scoop Media Conference preview. This time, the Big West, a conference it's going to be pretty fun this year. A conference I traditionally like watching, and yeah, we have a lot about the Big West to talk about. But first, just a quick promo. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're watching this there. That's great. If you're not, if you're maybe listening to this on the podcast form, make sure to know that there is a YouTube option available. Would really appreciate any subscribed, post notifications turning on would let you know of any other conference previews coming up. Uh, Follow us on Instagram, Twitter at Hoop Scoop Media helps. Yeah, a lot of content on there related to that as well. Just follow Luke at College Hoops on Instagram, CHO Talk Sports on Twitter/X. But yeah, are we ready to get into the Big West?
Yeah, I'm excited. There's a lot of talent lost, but a lot of new talent into the league, and I think it's shaping up to have a really competitive top of the conference.
Yes. But yeah, last year it was the 16th best conference, according to Ken Palm himself. UC Irvine, they were the regular season champs. They were the Ken Palm champs. And they had the highest Ken Palm ranking. But Long Beach State, they, despite some interesting circumstances surrounding that program involving the coach, I mean, not like interesting circumstances, fired the coach because he underperformed, but they made a run in the conference tournament and made it to the tournament. Yeah, it was an interesting situation. The press conferences were pretty funny when Dan Monson was already fired, but like
Yeah, and I mean with the talent of that roster last year, the firing made sense, but probably a
mm,
week or two too early.
yeah, we touched on it in the SEC preview talking about Jaden Jones, and yeah, he deserved to be fired, but like it's just so crazy how like yeah, you think that with as much talent as they had, like and as reasonably open as the Big West was, probably would have been smarter to make that decision later, but they didn't.
Yeah, yeah. If you're gonna do it anyways, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, the first team all conference members from last year, Deshaun Allen Ikens, Cal State Northridge, exhausts his eligibility. I believe he tried to get an extra year, but don't think anything ever materialized with that. Pierre Crockrell the second, dynamic point guard, maybe not dynamic. He was just the pure floor general, really ran it offense. Really good passer. He exhausted eligibility as well. AJ Mitchell, UC Santa Barbara, started his pro career. He was drafted. I want to fact check where he was, what pick he was. Let's see. Do you remember? Was he
30,
a
38,
first?
38th
Okay, not a
overall.
first rounder, but yeah, he is making solid amount of money in NBA now. Elijah Pepper, the player of the year from UC Davis, exhausted his eligibility. Bryce Pope from UC San Diego transferred to USC, and Abubakar Traore from Long Beach State transferred to Louisville. From the second team, Caleb Higgins, Cal State Bakersfield, exhausted his eligibility. Justin Hone is back at UC Irvine. T.Y. Johnson back at UC Davis. Justin McCoy from Hawaii exhausts his eligibility, and Lucina Traore from Long Beach State transferred to Xavier, but sadly he did suffer a season-ending injury the other day, which we'll obviously get into way more talk in the Big East preview, but we will not see Lucina shooting up until 2025-26 season. But yeah, some new coaches. As we mentioned previously, Chris Acker, he is the guy replacing Dan Monson at Long Beach State. He's been a San Diego State assistant. Don't have like a ton to say about him because I'm not as familiar with assistants as I am as sitting head coaches. There's a lot less proven, but like I definitely trust someone coming from San Diego State. So
Yeah, I'm the same way. I like the hire bringing in one of Brian Dutcher's guys, and I think he can maybe elevate Long Beach State talent more than Monson did, but the roster talent definitely isn't the same this year as it
yes,
was, as you
some
saw
intriguing pieces, but
with all
yeah.
those Long Beach transfers going to high majors.
So they had a lot of guys go up. And then another hire, really good hire. Cal Poly finally got rid of John Smith. He was winless in conference play last year. He was not a good coach. They hired Mike DeGeorge from Colorado Mesa, who is a really good coach. I've loved this hire. Cal Poly will no longer be like the basement. Like last year they went 0 and 20 in the league, and the next worst team was like 7 and 13. That will not even be close to happening this year. It was a great hire.
Yeah, I mean we're both like D2 guys, and I think we always respect when we see a D2 coach coming up to D1, and I think this year all the D2 hires were really good, and I think DeGeorge is no exception.
Yeah, DeGeorge's proven he can win anywhere. He can turn around programs, and Cal Poly is in need of both of those happening. But yeah, just getting into our personal all conference awards, breakout players, top transfers, all that fun stuff. Starting out with player of the year, my player of the year in the Big West is T.Y. Johnson, UC Davis. It's another year that I'm picking a UC Davis guy after Elijah Pepper won it last year. And yeah, Johnson will probably even he's a really dynamic scoring guard, can probably even get more buckets with Pepper gone. Interested to see
Yeah,
how that kind of works out, but he is really good.
yeah, he averaged 18 as a second option for Davis last year. So I went a different route. My player of the year I went with Deuce Turner from Santa
Okay.
Barbara, transferring from San Diego. Um, really good scorer, all three levels, can drive, can create, and also a really good 3-point shooter, like can hit from basically anywhere on the floor. And I think Santa Barbara has a bit more team success this year than Davis. So that's kind of the route I went with, team success kind of factoring in.
Yeah, that just shows how intriguing and how talented the Bay West is going to be. Because I didn't even have Deuce Turner on any of my all conference units, but I like him. Like it's not anything against
Yeah.
him. Like, and I feel like when you're picking Turner, like you're just like UC Santa Barbara has like a lot of guys you're picking like him to be the guy, but like there's just so much intrigue in this league, a lot of really good transfers, and yeah, I do still really like Turner, but my freshman of the year, I went with Lolo Rudolph from Cal State Fullerton, probably going to be their starting point guard. Don't know if they really have any other point guards in the roster. Don't love Fullerton this year, but if he starts and is decently impactful, I would imagine it would be him, depending on what else happens.
Yeah.
But
I had Rudolph as well. I think um at least preseason, heading into this season, he's probably the guy projected for the biggest role out of any
yeah,
freshman in the conference. And yeah, I think uh, a higher touted recruit than Fullerton would usually land. So I think yeah, he could have a solid year at point guard.
um, and who was your defensive player of the year?
I went with Keontae Jones from
Yeah,
Cal State Northridge. Um, averaged like a steal and a half and a block and a half per game last year, just kind of all over the place on the wing. Really good defender. So
that is who I went with as well. Few really good defenders in the conference. But yeah, I went with Jones there. So yeah, moving to our first teams. Obviously I have T.Y. Johnson. I assume you did as well.
yeah, yeah, I do as well.
Yes. And then next to him in my backcourt, I have another UC Santa Barbara guy. I have Stefan Swenson. Kind of the direction I went with, who's going to be UC Santa Barbara's best player. I really like Swenson. Saw him in person once last year, when Stetson played at Omaha. He really impressed me. Um, really solid point guard, can find his teammates, can create for himself, can get to the rim. I UC Santa Barbara has so many guys, but I kind of think Swenson's gonna be the best player. Might not lead him in scoring. Like I could totally see like Turner maybe getting him a little bit in scoring, but I think Swenson's the best player there.
Yeah, Swenson will be like that primary creator for them probably. I like Turner's scoring output. Obviously had Turner first team, and then I had Swenson on the second team.
Uh, um, let's see. So who is another guy on your first team?
Another guy I had was Barrington Hargis from
Yep.
UC Riverside. Last year as a freshman, averaged 13 points, 5 assists, and I think this year due for even a bigger season now, sophomore, and yeah, I think he's a really talented point guard, can score and create. And then Kyle told me when I told him I was going to do the Big West podcast instead, he told me I better give him a mention. So he's a big believer in Hargis.
He is on my first team as well. Really, really good for a freshman. I believe he was a redshirt freshman, but still, for his
Yeah,
first
redshirt freshman.
college game action, definitely really good. Had a really good assist to turnover ratio, which freshmen can struggle with at times, and was a pretty consistent scorer throughout the season. So yes, I had Hargis on my first team as well. Another guy I had on my first team, big fan of this guy. That is Aniwa Tate Jones for UC San Diego. He's very versatile player. Can kind of do a little bit of everything as a forward. Not a huge shooter, but can handle the ball, can get to the rim. I really like UC San Diego, and I think he's going to be kind of the center of the team. I kind of think he was their best player last year, even though Bryce Pope was kind of the guy that people know and got the headlines. I like Tate Jones a little bit better.
Yeah, I've got Tate Jones on my first team as well. Probably the best player on that roster, or I guess yeah, definitely in my eyes the best player on the roster. But he can do a bit of everything, and there's a lot of talent surrounding him. So I think the team's success will be there too.
Yes. And then my last member of the first team is Keontae Jones, as we talked about earlier, but he was really solid last year in his first year. Was he a JUCO guy or because last year was I know he was a junior last year. Um yeah. But yeah, he was really good. I think he's probably gonna be their number one option this year. So
I had Jones on my third team, just a bit more weary of how Northridge will do. The guy I went with to round out my first team was Justin Hone for UC Irvine.
I
Uh,
had second team.
I think he was either second or third team last season. I forget what you mentioned, but probably the leading scorer on that UC Irvine team who returns a lot from last year after winning the regular season.
Yeah. So is that all your first team then?
Yeah.
Right, so we'll move on to second team. I have another UC San Diego guy here. I have Tyler McGuy. He was really efficient last year when he started playing because he was a two-time transfer, so he was not eligible at first, but really shot the ball well, shot over 40% from three, on high volume, does not turn over at all. He's just a scorer, shooter, and I think with a full season, with a full season this year, I think he'll even be a little bit better.
Yeah.
He was so efficient.
Yeah, elite shooter. He's another one of the San Diego guy or UC San Diego guys. I really like. I had him on my second team as well.
All right, another guy I had on my second team, JUCO transfer from Cal State Bakersfield. That is CJ Hardy, um, one of the higher rated JUCO players in the country. Cal State Bakersfield is a program that kind of lives and dies with the JUCO route. Not a huge transfer program, more taking the JUCO transfers. But yeah, Hardy, I don't know where he was ranked. Let me double check that real quick. But he was ranked up top in the JUCO rankings somewhere. Let me pull that up. Yeah, he was a 10th ranked JUCO player according to JUCO recruiting. So, um, kind of a nice Caleb Higgins replacement, I think.
Yeah, I didn't have him on either of my teams. I went a little top heavy with the teams I think are going to be a lot better. I think there's a big split in my eyes between top half and the bottom half of the conference. But another guy I had on mine was Isaiah Moses, backcourt partner for Barrington Hargis at UC Riverside. 12, 3, and 4 last year. Just another solid guy in the backcourt, secondary ball handler, can score, do a bit of everything.
Yeah. So I had Justin Hone. I had Colin Smith as well. another UC Santa Barbara guy was hurt last year, so didn't play. Believe it. I don't know if it was an ACL or Achilles. Something not great, but I really did like what I saw from him as a freshman at Vanderbilt, and I think he could really have a good season this year. Hopefully he's fully healthy and yeah, can shoot it pretty decently and should be a pretty big body as well for the amount of skill he has in the conference.
Yeah, I went with another Santa Barbara guy on my second team. I went with their other big, Kenny Poto, in from Wichita State. Averaged 9 and 6 for them last year. Just a solid big. I think the Big West is a good place for him, and I liked what I saw from him at Wichita State last year.
Yes. And then my last member of my second team, I have Ben Lookton from UC Irvine. Really efficient big there. Um, Entered the portal, but returned to Irvine. Good rebounder, good shot blocker. We'll just see if he can stay consistently healthy this year. I feel like that's something he's kind of struggled with in years past, but if he's on the court, he's making a positive impact.
Yeah, I looked in on my third team, and then I had his front court mate Devin Tillis on my second team to round out my second team. Another solid returner for UC Irvine. They bring a lot back from the regular season champs last year, and I think Tillis will play a big role in that.
Yes, continuing the UC Irvine talk. I have a different guy on my third team. I have Miles Shea transferring in from Chattanooga. Really liked what I saw from him at Chattanooga. I think he could be a guy that takes a jump. Pretty solid level that he's moving across. Pretty even, and yeah, he was yeah someone that really impressed me as a freshman. Good shot creator. I think he can take a real step up in year two.
Yeah, I think um, he'll be a key addition for Irvine. I went with the other guy, so basically the entire starting five getting a mention. I went with Andre Henry,
Yes.
part of my third team. Again, another returner from that championship squad, and I think he'll have a slightly bigger role this year, maybe a bit more scoring, and he's a really efficient shooter.
Yes. I went with a Cal State Northridge guy in my third team. I went with Scotty Washington there. Coming from Cal Baptist, showed some real scoring flashes there. Not overly consistent, but definitely the flashes were there. I think he can become one of the featured options on this Northridge team. I think he'll score a lot of points, decent shooter, a lot to like about that addition.
Yeah, I had Keontae Jones from Northridge on my third team. We talked about him a bit already, and then another guy I had was Corey Curtis, JUCO transfer for Long Beach. I think he'll end up being the leading scorer on the Long Beach State team, and I think as a team they'll kind of outperform where people have them with Acker and his head coach. Averaged 23 and 5 last year in JUCO. Yeah, I think he'll be the lead guy for them.
Yep. Could definitely see that. I went with Cal Poly guy as another member of my third team. It was kind of hard to pick who might be their best player, but I went with Kieran Elliott coming from West Texas A&M, one of the D2 transfers that did not follow the coach. Actually, it only transfer like all the other guys they got followed to George from Colorado Mesa, but West Texas A&M is equally as good as a D2 program. They won like 30 games this year, and Elliott put up some solid numbers as a freshman, really efficient, averaged like 12 and 7 on like a really good team. So definitely someone I could like see one of their other D2 guys sneaking on here as well, but I went with Elliott.
Yeah, my final guy, my third team is another D2 guy, but one of the guys in at UC San Diego, Milos Vicentich, able to watch him play last year in person, and he was one of two unanimous all-conference selections last year in the GLVC alongside the player of the year, Jay Kilmer, and then just a really skilled big, can shoot it really well. I think 42% from three last year. And yeah, they as a team, McKendry was solid, but he and then his teammate I forget the name, transferred in up to Campbell, but two really talented players there, and percentage one of the best in the conference. I think he'll have a really big year on a really good San Diego team.
I went a slightly different direction there. I went with Norton Cabbage there. Their other star D2 transfer coming from Lynn, another really skilled big, and yeah, UC San Diego, former D2 program, as recent as so this is their first year of tournament eligibility. Um, but they might run out of starting lineup of all D2 transfers from all from different teams, not like a Cal Poly situation where they all followed. So that's kind of exciting. But yeah, I went with Cabbage there. And then my last guy was Judas Namiksha from Hawaii, coming in from Xavier. Old kind of, because he was like this is last year of eligibility, even though he's his second year playing college because he was like a European transfer or something like that. But I think Hawaii's going to kind of be looking for some guys who are little more thin than they have been in recent years. So I think having that high major experience, I think he's a guy that could maybe step up there. So yeah, moving to all freshmen. Obviously, I had Lolo Rudolph as we both had him as our freshman year. Who is another guy you had?
I went with Cam Martin from Long Beach State. Um, should be in the guard rotation, along with a couple of the transfers, and I think with basically an entirely new roster, there's a chance for him to break out.
Yes, I went with Ramel Lloyd Jr. from Long Beach State, technically a freshman, even though I think he's been in college for 2 years already. Has been hurt in his time at Nebraska. So never really got a chance to play, but he was a very highly regarded recruit. We'll see what he does, but given like his 4-star pedigree, there's definitely a lot of potential there if he's able to get to 100% health wise.
Yeah, and then next up, I had a duo of Riverside guys. I had Parker Strauss, redshirted at Northwestern last year, and then Jack Whitborn, um, who will be uh, in the front court rotation for Riverside.
Um, I had a Hawaii point guard. I had Aaron Hunkin Clacher coming in. I think he has a chance to play some solid minutes. Point guard right now is Marcus Green. I feel like Green could almost be better at the two. Hawaii, as I mentioned, they're a little bit thin, so I think he's definitely a guy that could see some solid minutes, pretty well regarded. So, um, see, another guy I have is Jurian Dixon from UC Irvine, redshirt freshman there, was pretty well regarded coming in. So I think that with a year of development in the program, with such a good program that UC Irvine has in regards to that stuff, he could probably be ready to make an impact this year.
Yeah, my final guy is Zion Sensley,
Yeah.
four-star recruit
He's probably
in
he's
at
the
Santa
best
Barbara.
freshman in the conference, but who knows
Yeah,
where his minutes are going to be.
that's kind of the one downside is playing on a really stacked, a really deep Santa Barbara team. It'd be interesting, but I think the skill overall will show.
Mm-hmm.
He'll have enough
Yes.
minutes to.
Sensley is definitely a guy that I like still. Moving to our breakout players. Who is one of your breakout players?
Top guy for me was Marvin McGee the third at Cal State Bakersfield. Averaged 8 and 3 last year, and now should be one of the lead guys alongside the JUCO transfer you
CJ
mentioned a moment
Hardy.
ago.
Yes.
Yeah, CJ Hardy.
Yes. I went with Tom Mark for Cal State Bakersfield as kind of my breakout guy. Showed some flashes, a little bit more scoring down the end of the year. Really good on defense. We'll see what Bakersfield can do, but yeah, former JUCO guy there, as is like everyone in the roster. So, but yeah, that's who my choice was there.
And then another guy I had was Tom Beatty. Kind of talked about the Hawaii roster being a bit thin, and I think he can enter into the backcourt and maybe have a bit bigger of a role than last year with all the guys on their way out.
My Hawaii player of choice is Akira Jacobs, a sophomore from Japan. He has had some really good international performances playing for Japan's national teams like U20, that type of stuff. So yeah, I definitely think he's a guy that can make an impact, has really produced at pretty high levels. So and yeah, with Hawaii needing a lot of pieces to be replaced, I think he's a guy that could benefit.
Yeah. Another guy I had on mine was Kendrick DeLuna from
Yep.
Cal State Fullerton. Um, really limited minutes last year, but the front court is basically all his at Fullerton this year. And I think as a sophomore, he'll take a big step up and increase minutes.
Yes, well regarded recruit coming in last year, so definitely there's a lot of potential with the fact that you also get so many minutes. And with him, I also went with Donovan O'Day for Cal State Fullerton. They're not looking very promising, or at least they're just not looking very sure of what's going to happen. So someone, if they're going to be, well, they're I don't know what I think about Cal State Fullerton. We'll get into that shortly, but they're gonna need O'Day to be pretty good if they're do anything. And I think even if
Yeah,
they don't, he'll be their leading scorer, maybe.
I had O'Day as another guy on my list. As you mentioned, just not sure of the team as a whole, but I think he's another guy with um, an increased role. Um, could have a bit bigger of a year. And then my final guy was Caleb Smith for UC Riverside. 8-4 last year. I think a bigger year coming in the front court at Riverside.
It's my last guy. I went with the transfer. I went with Nils Cooper from UC Davis, coming over from Pepperdine. 4-star last year, really athletic, really good defensively. UC Davis is gonna need someone to step up besides Johnson. So Cooper with his athleticism at least should make a pretty good impact under definitely a better system. Pepperdine last year was a mess. I think yeah, it was bad. But anyway, moving to our top 10 transfers. Number one, I had Stephon Swenson.
I had Swenson at 2. Deuce Turner was my 1,
Okay,
so
and I
really
had
high on that backcourt.
Deuce at ninth. Second, I had Colin Smith, another Santa Barbara guy.
I had Smith 7th, and then my second was obviously Swenson.
Third is where I had Miles Che.
I did not have Miles Che as part of mine. I had Kenny Poto at 3rd.
Okay, I didn't have him, but definitely someone to watch out for. Four, I had Norden Kapic,
Yeah, I had Capich at 6.
and then who'd you have
And then
before?
my fourth was his front court mate, Milos Vucetic.
I had him at seventh. I had Kieran Elliott, Cal Poly guy at fifth.
I didn't have Elliott as a part of my teams. I had Marcus Green. You talked about him a bit for Hawaii. I had him at 5th.
Yes, not a great team he's coming from, but good shooter. So there's definitely some intrigue there. I had Jesus Namisha, though his teammate at six. Did not have Green on here, but still
I
a vision
had
I do like.
I had Capich at 6th. I already talked about him. I had Namisha at 9th.
Yes, and percentage at seven, and
And then my
you're
7th was
yeah.
Colin Smith.
Number eight, I have Chris Mitchell for UC Santa Barbara. I really like Chris Mitchell. Like their team is so stacked, so like I don't know what's gonna happen, but Chris Mitchell is a guy that kind of sticks out to me.
I went at 8. I went with Mac Reinecker from Cal Poly, transferred up with the George from Colorado Mesa. So I think he could have a big year. Same system.
Number nine, that's where I had Deuce.
And that's where I had Namisha.
Number 10, I had Scotty Washington.
10th, I had Zion Richardson, another D2 guy um, in at Cal State Fullerton, and another guy that in kind of a lackluster roster could maybe step up, have a big year.
Yes, there are so many good transfers in this conference. A lot. This is going to be really fun. But yeah, now we'll actually talk about all the teams going from worst to first from last year, as we typically do, starting with number, let's see, are there 10 or 11 teams? One, two, three, four.
11.
Yes, 11. Only 10 next year, though, because Hawaii will be leaving to go to the Mountain West full time. But yes, 11 teams in the conference. 11th last year was Cal Poly. I have them at 8th this year.
I have Cal Poly 10th. I was tempted to put them higher, but everything I've seen otherwise has kind of like doubting my expectations for them. But I like what they could be with all the D2 guys coming in.
Yes. Yeah, Mike DeGeorge bringing most of his team is not bringing Trevor Baskin, unfortunately, who is at Colorado right now. But yeah, I think this team is going to be night and day from last year, even though they're still probably going to be one of the bottom teams in the conference. They're going to be so
Yeah,
much better.
yeah. You talked about last year; they were just kind of a dead weight in the conference. But I think this year the the bottom half will be a lot more, or they'll be a lot more competitive with the bottom half. And I think all the D2 guys getting brought up, especially Reinecker, Elliott, Kuntz, all valuable guys on the wing. I think they all play a big role. And
Yeah.
Reinecker being an elite shooter, good defender, I like what he
Mhm.
brings.
Yes, lot to like with those guys. Jared Hyder also back, who's like not that good, but has also been around for a while. I kind of trust George with him more than John Smith, so um, a little concerned about what they might do at center. Not necessarily looking like a super deep position for them, but um,
Yeah,
either way,
Bizimana and Price were both guys I thought about putting on the breakout list just because I think one of them's going to have to step up in a big way.
yes. Also got Luka Tarlak from Utah, Isaac Jessup, another Mesa guy, and yeah, like this team is going to be so much better than they were last year. Like, yeah, like they're just going to take a little bit of time maybe to get into like true contention, but they were so bad last year. And like if you're into betting, which as a student athlete I am not, but Cal Poly is 343rd in Ken Palm right now. The game lines are usually kind of based on Ken Palm, so they're a lot better than that. Take the information how you want, but they will be one of the highest risers throughout the season in Ken Palm.
Yeah, I think that's almost a guarantee. I think heavily weighted against their performance last year, and it's a totally different team this year.
Yes.
And I also assume it's hard on Ken Palm's side to get like real accurate numbers on all the D2 guys coming up. But
Yes. Absolutely. But yeah, they're going to be night and day from last year. Next team up, Cal State Fullerton. I have them last this year.
yeah, I've got Fullerton 11th as well.
Yeah,
Um,
not a super intriguing team to me.
they weren't good last year. Obviously, elevated a bit by the fact that Cal Poly was so bad. But then they lose their top two guys,
Mhm.
Dominic Bruton and Max Jones from last season. So
Yeah, not yeah, and they didn't bring in a ton to replace them. I mean, they got Zion Richardson, D2 guy. He should be all right.
yeah, I think athletically he's definitely
Mm-hmm. Looks like might have froze there, but yeah,
level
Richardson
wasn't the
or
most efficient. Saw his score.
yeah. Richardson's a solid piece. So Caleb Brown and Kobe Young, two up transfers going down. We'll see. Some intrigue there, I guess, but not guys that have done much yet. O'Day
Yeah,
has
and
to
then
take a jump.
O'Day, DeLuna, Robinson, I
Luna.
think all need to step up a bit. And
We'll see. Not a ton here.
I
But
in
I
my
also
eyes they're the safest pick for last.
yeah, but
Like
I
I
also
would
like Dedrick Taylor. Like he's not a bad coach, so maybe they're like semi-competitive. Like they're not going to be like a Cal Poly last like last year
yeah.
was.
I
But
yeah, I think every team in this conference probably wins at least 4 or 5 games.
Mhm.
20 game schedule. Whereas last year you saw Cal Poly go over. So
Yes. Next up, though, Cal State Bakersfield. I have them in 10th.
I've got Bakersfield ninth.
Yeah, not a team. Yeah, as we mentioned, a team that really lives and dies by the JUCO route. Definitely has some talent, but
Yeah, I think McGee taking a step up. Talked about him in my breakout players, and then the JUCO guys Hardy and Jones will have to be good.
yes. They have Marvin McGee to third and Marvin McGee to fourth.
Yeah, that was my next bullet point. Yeah, that should be exciting.
Yes, it's certainly something. Shout out Marvin McGee for naming all of his sons after. You know just what Ricky Council did too? Like Ricky Council, like all of his brothers are like the Ricky Council the fourth is like the good one that's in the NBA, but like his
Yeah,
brothers are like Ricky Council the second, the third.
I didn't even I didn't realize that was a thing until this Marvin McGee thing kind of went viral over the last week.
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting. But yeah, we'll see. They they were pretty bad offensively. Not a super modern team. Didn't really shoot too many threes. Didn't really play that fast. So Rod Barnes is pretty old, but they should be like semi-competitive defensively. But again, we'll see. They have some JUCO talent. We'll see if they can like all fit together, but
Yeah,
not a team I'm super high on.
I feel like a lot of the times the JUCO guys are really good athletes, but not the best of shooters, and I think that the entire team almost really fits the
Yes.
mold.
Yes. Next up, Cal State Northridge. They had a really good season last year compared to standards of years past. Another program that made a D2 hire, Andy Newman, previously to last year, and really elevated that program. Similar jump to what Cal Poly may take this year, but I have Northridge in seventh this year.
I've got Northridge eighth.
And yeah, they do lose some significant players, as we mentioned. Deshaun Allen Ikens, and they lost a lot of guys. They lost Deontay Bostic as well, who was another really good player. But they do bring in a lot of intriguing players, and some players are like, I don't know, like if this team like hits, like it could be really good. But
Yeah, I think the two biggest question marks are Marcus Adams Jr., former top 50 recruit from BYU, and then PJ Fuller as well,
yeah,
formerly Washington and TCU.
yes, like Marcus Adams could be like really good, but he's been to like five different schools and has played like one game in college, so
Yeah, it
we'll
doesn't
see.
really seem as if he wants to get on the floor, but yeah, definitely something to watch. And then we talked a lot about Keontae Jones already.
Hmm.
Um, really good both sides of the ball. So
And then talking about PJ Fuller, like he's not that good, I wouldn't say, but like he's always got minutes at a high major level, so his efficiency has kind of always been the problem. We'll see moving down level. He's who knows what he's been doing for the last year. Hasn't been anywhere committed to Detroit last year, never actually showed up there. But definitely someone that's at least like a little bit intriguing at this level.
yeah, and then you talked about Scotty Washington from Cal Baptist a bit earlier, and I like him as well. Um, yeah, just if the transfers hit, I think it could be a team up near fifth or sixth. But for now, I've got them eighth.
Yes. Grady Lewis, another named monitor coming from Cal State East Bay. Got a few Pacific transfers. Tyler Beard, Judson Martindale. Pacific was bad. Um, I mean, these guys are worthwhile bench swings. I think. Got a Marfo, Festus Numanya. Um, coming from Southern, spent some time at JUCO. Should definitely be another impactful piece down low. Decent freshman class as well. So this team could be pretty good. But a lot of things that could go wrong here with some of the players, but a lot of talent. Andy Newman's a really good coach. And as a whole, Northridge is on the rise. But we'll see how
Yeah,
long Newman's there.
yeah, definitely on the step up from what they were before Newman
Mhm.
came in.
Yes, those were some like Trent Johnson days. Those were that was bad. But anyway, next team is UC Santa Barbara. They were very very disappointing last year. Um, very. I mean, obviously they had AJ Mitchell, who we talked about, was drafted in early in the second round of the draft, and he was really good. Like he definitely wasn't what was holding him down. They theoretically had talent around him, but it was a bad year for the Gauchos. I had him second this year. I think the top three in my eyes in the league are kind of like a tier of their own, but I, because of last year, I'm a little bit lower on them than I could be otherwise.
I really like all the top three, kind of as you mentioned, probably a tier above everybody else. I'm bought in on Santa Barbara though. I put them first. A lot of new transfers in. I think the upside of the talent is definitely there. It's a chance to take against Irvine, who returns a lot, but I like the capabilities of the backcourt with Stefan Swenson and Deuce Turner both coming in. Good shooter Cole Anderson alongside him.
Hmm. Yeah, so much, too much depth. This team has way too much depth. Like some of these guys are not going to play.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the four transfers we already talked about into the lineup. Four returners that played good minutes last year. Zion Sensley in as a freshman, and then a couple other guys, Chris Mitchell, Max Morrell.
Yeah, Chris Mitchell, like I mentioned earlier, I think he's going to be like kind of. I don't know. I don't think he's going to be their best player necessarily, but he is really good, really athletic, can get to the rim, can really create his own shot at the rim. I think he could be kind of because he's all their other transfers are like kind of like notable names. He's a little bit less known coming from D2 when they already have all of these high major known recruits, but I think Mitchell will be a guy to surprise some people. Jason Fontenot as well. I think he could kind of be in for a breakout. Played some solid minutes last year. I guess I don't know where the minutes are, but he's a guy I like. They also have Zakiah Clark, brother of Sky Clark. Formerly had some pretty decent high major offers. Was committed to like Illinois and Tennessee State in the past, so it's definitely another guy that could make a run for the rotation. But we'll see. Ben Stolzberg as well. Former Creighton transfer, former really solid recruit. This team needs a redemption, and think this is a good roster for it. But also, if they blow this, I'm kind of like officially out on Pasternak.
Yeah, I think you've got your two fifth-year guards kind of leading the way. I think this is the year where it almost has to get done. I know they might not be the overwhelming or they might not be the favorite in the conference, but I think it would definitely be seen as a disappointment if they aren't at least in the Big West title game.
Yes, by far the most talented team in the conference. Without any questions or debates, in my opinion. We'll see though. Next up, UC Riverside. I have Riverside fifth.
Yeah, I've got Riverside fourth. I think they're the team with the best chance to challenge the top three, and that is mostly because of Hargress in the backcourt and then Moses and Pickens next to him. I think, yeah, I talked about Hargress a lot already, but extremely talented point guard, creator, and now heading into his redshirt sophomore year, I think take an even bigger jump.
Yes, him and Isaiah Moses gives Riverside a pretty good backcourt duo. I like Mike Magpio as a coach. Yeah, Riverside not a program with many resources, so the fact he's been able to hold on to like Hargress and some of these other players um, is a good sign. took some swings on some younger transfers with Rika Schulte and Parker Strauss, both down transfers from Davidson and Northwestern. I know we've talked about how bad Cal Poly is, but they did take Joel Armo trading, who is I got it. I kind of like, kind of gives him a big guy inside.
Yeah, that's what the roster really needs, and I think, um, yeah, you might not think of it coming up from Cal Poly that he'll be an effective player, but I think he will have to be for Riverside, and then I also had Jack Whitborn on my all freshman team. He's another guy that they can throw down low. If Armo trading doesn't pan out as they want.
Yes. Yeah, Armo trading is as bad as Cal Poly was. He was a good rim protector. He was a good rebounder. I think that's exactly what Riverside needs out of him. So yeah, definitely see the vision for taking him. Again, Meg Pyle is a really good coach. Um, so yeah, Riverside, they almost got like, didn't their like program almost end like a few years ago because of like how little money they had? I don't know if you
I
remember
guess
that.
I wouldn't know.
I don't, yeah, I'm pretty sure it happened. Next up though, Long Beach State. And year one of the Chris Acker, I had them at ninth.
I got them at sixth,
Okay.
so maybe a bit higher on him than most, but I like Chris Acker coming in and the capabilities of him as a head coach.
Yes. And it's an interesting group of transfers. Um,
Yeah, there's um, the JUCO guy talks about Corey Curtis Jr. I like him the most uh, out of the group, but yeah, definitely some weird transfers like Devin Askew coming down. Hopefully, this is his level, but
we'll see. I mean, if this isn't his level, then I don't think anything will be. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see if he can, because he was like okay at Cal like the year they were really bad, and he was like hurt. I could see him becoming good, but I'm not gonna definitely not gonna buy into him being good. Um, TJ Wainwright, solid transfer from Robert Morris, doesn't necessarily move me, but also like you'll take him. Believe he is from the area, so it's yeah. Austin Johnson coming from North Carolina A&T, was at Irvine. For had didn't play last year, but really solid defensive big man. I think um he's gonna play a big role there.
we kind of talked about a couple of the freshmen, Ramel Lloyd Jr. and Cam Martin. I think they
Hmm.
both have a decent role in this team.
Yeah, Cam Denson coming over from Pacific. Again, Pacific was bad, but I don't hate to take there. Um, yeah, I mean a lot of things are gonna get have to go right for this team to be competitive, but I don't overly see it, but we'll see what Ager can do.
Yeah, I'm just more as a whole not in on the bottom half of this conference really, and I want to take the shot with Acker being one of Ryan Dutcher's top assistants. I think
Yes, very
him leading the
well
program.
regarded. So can't can at least buy into I'm buying into the future though. Like
Yeah,
I like the
100%.
future because Long Beach, like, yeah, Monson was disappointing, but like that's a place where you can get guys given what he did. I'm gonna make that judgment. And they got some like sort of weird high profile guys this offseason. So think it's gonna be think it's gonna the hire is definitely gonna work out in the future. Anyway, though, next up Hawaii. I have them at sixth.
I've got Hawaii seventh. So
Yeah, definitely not a great roster, at least in terms of who they lost more so with Noel Coleman, Bernardo da Silva, Jovan McClanahan, Juan Munoz, Justin McCoy, all exhaustion or eligibility. But this is another time where I'm like kind of trusting the system a little bit. Hawaii has built a very solid foundation, so
Yeah,
Kind of trusting in that.
I trust Gannat, and then I also trust the home court advantage to help them out, win some games that they maybe shouldn't, pull some upsets at home. But yeah, it'll be key for a lot of these guys that are back that played limited roles last year to make a jump. Talks about Tom Beatty as a breakout guy for me, and then yeah, a couple transfers that should make waves. Nemicha in from Xavier and Marcus Green from Houston Christian.
Yeah. I like Tanner Christensen too. Like I think he's a solid starting big man in the conference. Like nothing crazy about him, but I think he's for what they could have got, I think he's a solid replacement. Jerome Palm, solid backup five, I guess. And yeah, Green's a good shooter. We'll see. We'll see what like the returners do. I think Akira Jacobs is going to be a big impact, but he might be coming off the bench with Nemicha and Christensen there. So we'll see. Good freshman class though. Um, with Hunkin Claytor as I had on my freshman team. AJ Economou could be a redshirt freshman that kind of establishes himself. And yeah, kind of trusting the system, but there's definitely still a reason for optimism looking at the roster.
Yeah, I trust Gannat, even though they lose a lot of their top guys,
Yes, they
five of their
lost.
top
Yes,
five scorers, I think.
yes,
Yeah, top six
they
maybe. Yeah,
they lost like everything. But yeah, next up though, UC Davis. I have them fourth.
I've got UC Davis fifth. Ty Johnson back, but I'm not entirely sure on what surrounds him.
Yes, definitely a little bit of a question mark there. No Elijah Pepper. Elijah Pepper was very good, but yeah, Nils Cooper again, as I hyped up, I think he could be a name to monitor. Not sure about the offensive aspect if he's really going to give them a ton there. They're definitely going to need someone to step up. Maybe that could be Marcellus Roberson, who did not play last year. Former top 100 guy hasn't really done much in his college career yet, but there could be some potential intrigue there. But yeah, again, a lot of the returning guys are like lower usage guys, which does make sense because Johnson and Pepper kind of did everything. But we'll see.
Yeah, I think Nils Cooper, being a breakout guy coming over from Pepperdine, I think that's really a key to getting the most out of the backcourt. Otherwise, it'll be Ty Johnson, and I don't know. There needs to be somebody else to step up alongside him. So
Yes. We'll see. But Johnson's going to be really good. He's going to score a lot of points. He's going to find
yeah,
some teammates as well. So
I think
we'll
there's a chance
see.
he ends as a top 10 scorer in the country. I don't know if that's a crazy take or not, but
I
18
think
last
it's
year is the
pretty
second
reasonable.
option. I think he'll have the ball a lot more. So
Yes, with no other solid like scores next to him that have been established. So yeah, we'll see. Maybe one of these guys can break out. I don't know who I would pick to break out of the guys they have returning, not like super solid offensive guys.
yeah, I'm not really in on any of them. I like what Rokak is as a big, but I don't know if he's like breakout worthy really.
Yeah, like he's like these guys are more like good defensive players.
Yeah, like just I don't know, solid players. There's not real offensive upside to them.
Yes. We'll see though. This team should have a really good defense, so that is one thing I can say. Addition of Cooper bolsters that as well. But next up is UC San Diego. I am going with the Tritons this year to win the conference. Maybe a little
Yeah,
controversial, but like I really like UC San Diego. This is my bold take at the conference.
I've got them to finish third, but I love all of the top three. I think they're all
Hmm.
probably better than what's perceived by the public heading into the year. So
Yes, this team was sneaky really good last year. I don't think
yeah,
people realized how good they were. I mean, like they almost cracked the top 100 at one point in Ken Palm, like late in the
yeah.
season.
And I
Um,
think there's a chance all three, Santa Barbara, San Diego, UC Irvine, can get near the top 100 this year.
yes, I would agree with that, but like obviously they lost Bryce Pope, but like I don't know. I wasn't really the biggest Bryce Pope guy ever, honestly.
Yeah, I think obviously scored a lot, but I think you can kind of focus the offense in different ways this year. The two skilled D2 transfers, Capich and Vicentich coming in, and then
Mhm.
obviously McGee and Tate Jones back.
Yes, Hayden Gray back, point guard from last year. Another former D2 transfer as well. They also have some like a little few different down transfers. Chris Howell from St. Mary's. Didn't do a lot there, but I like really trust anyone who's ever played under Randy Bennett. So I definitely see the upside there. Justin Rochelin, another guy, didn't really do much in the high major to Pac-12, but again, this is a big West. Definitely should be a solid impact piece off the bench. Maximo Milovic, really solid rebounder coming in from Biola. So just another D2 transfer that should carve out a role in your rotation. But like I think this is gonna be the year. This is your first year eligible for tournament. Even with the losses, obviously Pope. I really did like Francis Nicoria, um, as we talked about in A10 preview week or two ago, but I think the both the D2 transfers, um, or two of them in Cabbage and Percentage should be able. They kind of give the skill they Corey brought. Maybe I don't know. I guess I'm not too familiar. What would you? How would you say like the physicality is with like Vicente? Because I feel like Nicoria was
I no, I would say Poirier definitely has him as a
yeah.
physicality level, but
That's like my
uh,
one
it's a
concern. Like
it's also
because
a
they
big step
also
up
yeah.
because he was almost more of a five last year at the D2 level, and like that's where his skill really shined. But I still think he's highly skilled and can play the
Mm-hmm.
four. I think he'll be the four, Cabbage the five. But
They
two
lose a
really
little
skilled
bit of
guys in the front court.
physicality down low, with losing like Jerron Brooks, Emmanuel Shimanga, Nicoria. Definitely a little physicality they don't have, but I really do like everyone they got. Um, Eric Olin, really good coach. UC San Diego, finally kind of establishing themselves in D1 after um, being a really dominant program at the Division two level.
Yeah,
Um,
I think it's a good spot, and he's shown already that you can win even at the D1 level there. And I think like you said, it's a really good year for them to have their first year of tournament eligibility. A
mhm.
a very good chance to reach the
It's,
NCAA.
could be pretty big. And then last UC Irvine, I was in third this year, but as I mentioned, the top three is kind of all right there in my opinion.
Yeah, I've got
Irvine's going to
Irvine
be really
second.
good. They're going to be really good too. Not taking away from them at all. They did lose Darren Sarin to Stanford, Pierre Crockrell, really good passer there, but I also like who they have back. Justin Hohenmack, Andre Henry, I believe, was a defensive player of the year in the conference last year. Definitely a solid piece. Devin Tillis, Bent Lupton. Um, yeah, a lot to like about them. A lot to like about Russell Turner, Miles Che, as I mentioned multiple times, is a guy that I really like the upside and future of. So Irvine's going to be really good still.
Yeah, four of the top six back from last year's squad, and then it's really just dependent on Miles Che, in my opinion. Can he come in and provide what Sarin did last year?
Yeah, and maybe some of the bench guys as well. We'll see. if they can step up, not super deep bench as it looks like right now. See if like Kyle Evans brings them much. I kind of like some of the flashes I saw from him at Colorado State. See if like one of the redshirt freshmen, Ben Egbo, Jurian Dixon can do much. But overall, UC Irvine always comes through in the regular season. Now they have they have not been good in the conference tournament. In fact, in terms of winning it, considering how good they've been, but I mean, they're still a really good team. Like they could win it all this year.
Yeah, I mean, the last what 4 years really been one of the better teams in the conference and haven't been able to get the job done since pre-COVID. But
But that's kept them hanging on to Russell Turner though.
yeah,
Probably
and
not a trade you want to take, but like you still would. He's still a really good coach, and it's nice to kind of have him locked up there.
yeah, and he's been consistent over the course of his whole tenure
Hmm.
in the regular season, as you mentioned. But definitely need to get back over the hump soon, I think.
Yes. Um. Yeah. So that is all the teams in the Big West. Any other notes on the conference that you wanted to talk about?
Um, I, I would just highlight the top three: Santa Barbara, Irvine, and UC San Diego. I think they're all going to be very good teams, and I think that conference race uh, will be one of the better conferences, and it should lead to an exciting conference tournament
Yes. I mean, yeah.
because
And this year,
that ends up being the only thing that really matters in a one bid league. But
hmm one of the more fun one big leagues for sure, though. And this year, there's not going to be any Pac-12 after dark, so we will be watching the Big West after dark, as
yeah,
I would anyway. But like,
yeah, I mean, I was always up for a Long Beach State game. Probably not the same style this year, Acker versus Dan Monson, but I think there's still a lot of other very talented, very fun teams in the conference that are definitely
we'll be
worth a
we'll be
watch.
watching Cal Poly late at night this year. Anyway, though, appreciate everyone for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe, hit that like button, turn on post notifications so you are updated with all of our conference previews that we release. And yeah, make sure to follow us on Instagram at Hoopscoop Media, on Twitter/X, same username at Hoopscoop Media. Make sure to follow Luke at College Hoops Outlet on Instagram, CHO Talks Sports on Twitter. And yeah, that is the Big West. Not sure what conference will be next, but appreciate everyone for tuning in. We will see you next time.